The storm arrived with a sudden ferocity, dark clouds rolling in over Asheville, casting a shadow over the vibrant arts district I had grown to love. The air crackled with electricity, and the scent of impending rain hung heavy. My husband was away on yet another business trip, leaving me alone in our home, a place that had begun to feel more like a cage than a sanctuary. As the first drops of rain began to splatter against the window, I settled into my favorite chair, wrapped in a worn quilt that had seen better days. The rhythmic patter of rain was soothing, but it also stirred something deep within me, an unsettling mix of nostalgia and longing. I tried to focus on the book resting on my lap, but my thoughts drifted. With each rumble of thunder, memories surfaced like ghosts from a past I thought I had buried. I could almost hear the laughter of my son as he played in the backyard during summer storms, his innocence untouched by the complexities of adulthood. Those days felt so far away now. The distance between us grew with each passing year, as did the weight of unspoken desires. The lights flickered before plunging me into darkness. I sat still for a moment, allowing my eyes to adjust to the dimness. The silence enveloped me, broken only by the sound of rain pounding against the roof. I stood and moved toward the kitchen, hoping to find some semblance of comfort in a cup of tea. As I rummaged through drawers for candles, my fingers brushed against something familiar, a small box tucked away at the back. Curiosity piqued, I pulled it out and opened it carefully. Inside lay an old love letter from my youth, words penned by a hand that once held mine tightly beneath starlit skies. The ink had faded but not its power, it whispered secrets of passion and dreams long forgotten. I read it again and again, each line igniting feelings that had lain dormant for years. The storm outside intensified as if echoing my internal chaos. Memories flooded back, of stolen kisses and laughter shared beneath an open sky, moments that felt impossibly distant now. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door, a sharp sound that cut through my reverie. My heart raced as I set down the letter and approached cautiously. Who could be visiting at such an hour? As I opened the door slightly, rain poured in with gusts of wind. "Mom," came a familiar voice from beyond the threshold. My son stood soaked to the bone, his face lit up by flashes of lightning illuminating his features momentarily before darkness returned. "I thought you might need company," he said sheepishly. I hesitated but then stepped aside to let him in. "What are you doing here?" My voice trembled slightly as he crossed the threshold into our home, a place where boundaries were supposed to be clear but now felt blurred amidst this tempest. "I got caught in the storm," he replied casually, shaking off droplets like an eager puppy trying to dry off after playtime. As we settled into the living room together, candlelight flickering softly, I couldn't help but notice how different he seemed now, no longer just my child but someone who evoked emotions that both thrilled and terrified me. "Remember when we used to watch storms together?" he asked suddenly, breaking through my thoughts as if sensing my inner turmoil. "Yes," I replied quietly. "You were so scared back then." "I wasn't scared, I was just excited," he laughed lightly, but there was something deeper behind his words, a longing for connection perhaps? The storm raged outside while we reminisced about family traditions and childhood memories, the little things that once seemed trivial but now felt monumental amid this gathering storm within us both. As thunder cracked loudly overhead, something shifted in our exchange. Vulnerability hung thick in the air between us like an unspoken promise waiting to be fulfilled or shattered. In those fleeting moments illuminated by candlelight and shadows dancing across walls lined with art from local galleries, our lives intertwined more than ever before. I felt an undeniable pull toward him that made me question everything I thought was right or wrong. But just then, a flash illuminated his face fully for what seemed like eternity, revealing not just familiarity but also something else entirely, an intimacy born from years spent together yet laced with tension too complicated to name aloud. "Mom," he began hesitantly before being interrupted by another crash of thunder outside. The world around us fading away into mere background noise as we locked eyes across space filled with unspoken words swirling between us like autumn leaves caught in a gusty windstorm. I felt breathless under his gaze. It stirred within me desires long suppressed beneath layers of societal expectations and familial obligations. Feelings ignited anew by this unexpected closeness during such chaotic times when everything else felt uncertain and fragile around us. Just then, another knock echoed through our cocoon's space, the sound jarring enough to pull us both out from whatever trance we had fallen into moments earlier. A reminder that reality still existed beyond these walls even if our hearts yearned for something different altogether amidst this tempestuous night filled with secrets waiting patiently beneath layers upon layers yearning for release. The storm outside raged on, the wind howling like a restless spirit, as I stood in the dim light of the flickering candles. My son's presence filled the room with an energy that was both comforting and unsettling. He settled on the couch, his silhouette barely visible in the shadows, and I took a moment to gather my thoughts. Memories of his childhood flooded back, laughter echoing through these very walls, family dinners filled with stories and warmth. "Remember when we used to have those movie nights?" he asked suddenly, breaking the silence. His voice held a hint of nostalgia that tugged at my heartstrings. "Of course," I replied softly, trying to keep my tone light. "You always insisted on watching the same animated film." He chuckled, a sound that felt like a balm against the tension thickening in the air. "I think it was just an excuse to eat popcorn." As he spoke, I found myself drawn into his memories. The way he would curl up beside me with a bowl overflowing with buttery kernels, our laughter mingling with the flickering images on screen. It felt safe then, innocent. But now, sitting across from him in this fragile moment of intimacy, everything felt different. The power outage had stripped away our usual distractions and left us vulnerable to each other's presence. The storm outside mirrored the tempest within me. Emotions swirled chaotically as I battled against my own thoughts. How could I allow myself to feel this connection so deeply? It was wrong, so wrong, but it felt so right at this moment. He shifted slightly on the couch, leaning forward as if compelled by an invisible force drawing us closer together. The candlelight danced across his face, illuminating features that were so familiar yet somehow foreign. A fleeting thought crossed my mind. Was it possible for love to transcend boundaries? "Mom," he said quietly, breaking through my spiraling thoughts. "Do you think things will ever go back to how they used to be?" I hesitated before answering. "What do you mean?" "You know, with Dad gone so much." His gaze dropped to his hands as if ashamed to voice what lingered between us. The question hung heavy in the air, an unspoken acknowledgement of our current reality and its implications. The space between us felt charged with unacknowledged tension. I could almost hear our hearts beating in sync despite the distance separating us. "I don't know," I finally admitted, feeling vulnerable under his scrutiny. "It's hard to say." He sighed deeply, and for a moment, silence enveloped us again, a fragile cocoon shielding us from everything outside those walls. "Sometimes I wish we could just escape," he murmured softly. His words resonated within me. Escaping seemed like a distant dream now more than ever. The storm raged outside while we sat together in our sanctuary, a place where secrets lingered beneath layers of familial love and longing. Suddenly, thunder cracked loudly overhead, shaking the house slightly and causing both of us to jump instinctively closer together on the couch. The proximity ignited something within me, a warmth that spread through my body like wildfire. In that instant of vulnerability shared between us amidst nature's fury outside, something shifted irrevocably inside me. My heart raced as I looked into his eyes, the connection palpable enough to taste it in the air around us. "We kissed," he whispered almost hesitantly, a confession laced with uncertainty yet undeniable truth. My breath caught in my throat as memories flooded back, childhood kisses shared beneath mistletoe during Christmas parties or playful pecks on cheeks after winning games during family gatherings, but this was different entirely. This was charged with an intensity that made every fiber of my being awaken anew. "What?" I managed to ask softly, as if afraid that saying it louder might shatter this delicate moment we had created together. "I mean, back when we were kids," he clarified quickly, but not without a hint of something deeper lurking behind those words, the weight of unspoken feelings lingering just beneath surface-level banter. A wave of embarrassment washed over me at how easily such thoughts had slipped into our conversation, uninvited yet welcomed all at once. And I felt compelled to clarify boundaries, even though they seemed increasingly blurred within these walls during this stormy night filled with uncertainty. "It was innocent then," I replied carefully while searching for clarity amidst confusion swirling around us like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind outside our window. "Yes," he nodded slowly but remained silent afterward, a shared understanding passing between us without needing further elaboration about what had transpired years ago versus what lay ahead tonight beneath candlelight, flickering shadows across our faces illuminated by secrets waiting patiently for acknowledgement, beyond mere words spoken aloud. We fell into silence again, but not before another clap of thunder echoed overhead. A reminder that nature remained wild beyond these walls even if we found ourselves cocooned safely inside together, exploring memories both cherished yet fraught with complexities surrounding them now more than ever before amid storms raging fiercely outside, threatening disruption once again soon enough. As minutes passed slowly like hours ticking away quietly around us, enveloped by darkness punctuated only by bursts from lightning illuminating fleeting glimpses into each other's souls briefly revealed before fading back into obscurity, leaving behind only questions lingering unanswered, hanging heavily between breaths exchanged, softly shared moments cherished yet burdened too. The storm continued its relentless assault against our home, while inside this fragile bubble created by candlelight, flickering warmth filling empty spaces where doubt had once resided, comfortably nestled deep within hearts yearning for connection amid chaos, threatening everything familiar known thus far. Moments stretched endlessly until finally breaking free from their grasp, allowing laughter once again fill air around us, chasing away shadows cast long ago, reminding me why family mattered most despite complexities arising unexpectedly, sometimes challenging even strongest bonds formed over years spent navigating life's unpredictable journey together, moving forward, always searching for light, shining brightly through darkness enveloping all else surrounding them, endlessly seeking solace found only amongst those closest held dear. And yet even amid laughter shared freely tonight, under flickering candlelight illuminating faces warmed by fondness rekindled anew, something remained unspoken, lingering silently, waiting patiently beneath surface, ready poised strike unexpectedly, catching unaware when least expected, plunging deeper still into unknown depths previously unexplored, risking everything known thus far, venturing forth boldly toward uncertain future, beckoning enticingly beyond horizon, looming large ahead, promising adventure-filled possibilities waiting eagerly just outreach, fingertips brushing lightly against edges, longing touch reaching forth, daring grasp, hold tightly onto whatever might lie ahead. The storm outside rumbled with a ferocity that matched the turmoil within me. I could hear the wind howling, rattling the windows of our old house. The shadows danced across the walls, flickering with the candlelight as I sat on the couch, my heart racing. My son had left only moments ago, but his presence lingered like a ghost in the air. I picked up an old family photograph from the coffee table. It captured a moment from years ago, my husband and I, laughing, with our son cradled in my arms. His innocent smile seemed to pierce through my heart now, reminding me of simpler times when love felt uncomplicated. Yet now, as I stared at it, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted irreparably. The candle flickered again as thunder cracked overhead. I shivered slightly, not from the cold but from a rush of conflicting emotions that surged through me. The memory of our shared laughter tonight was still fresh. It felt like a fragile thread connecting us amidst this chaos. But lurking beneath that thread was a darker current, an attraction to my son that felt both thrilling and terrifying. I placed the photograph back down and took a deep breath. My mind drifted back to earlier when we had been reminiscing about childhood memories and family traditions during the storm's fury. How easy it had been to slip into nostalgia, to forget for a moment about everything else, the distance between my husband and me, my unfulfilled desires. Suddenly, a flash of lightning illuminated the room, casting stark shadows on the walls. In that brief moment of light, I saw him again, the way he looked at me tonight, with warmth and understanding that felt almost intimate. Our lips met in that fleeting moment under candlelight. It was innocent yet charged with an energy that left me breathless. I shook my head lightly as if trying to dispel those thoughts like cobwebs clinging too tightly in corners of my mind. This wasn't right, it couldn't be right. The societal judgment loomed over me like storm clouds threatening more rain, heavy and oppressive. A soft knock at the door startled me from my spiraling thoughts. My heart raced again as I stood up instinctively to answer it, but paused just before reaching for the handle. Who could it be? The storm had driven everyone indoors. Surely no one would venture out into this weather unless they were desperate. I hesitated for what felt like an eternity before finally opening it just a crack. It was only an old neighbor checking on us after hearing thunderous booms echoing through our street. Just wanted to make sure you're all right, she said kindly but with concern etched on her face. Yes, we're fine, I replied quickly, forcing a smile despite my internal chaos. She nodded slowly but didn't leave immediately. Her eyes searched mine for something deeper, a truth unspoken perhaps or an acknowledgement of shared burdens carried silently among neighbors. Let me know if you need anything, she offered before finally turning away into the night's embrace. As I closed the door behind her, another wave of guilt washed over me. Here I was entangled in feelings for my own son while others struggled with their own battles outside these walls. How selfish could I be? I returned to the couch and wrapped myself in a blanket as if trying to shield myself from all that had transpired tonight, the laughter shared under flickering lights and those fleeting moments of vulnerability where boundaries blurred dangerously close to being crossed. The storm continued its relentless assault outside while inside this house felt suffocatingly still. A silence thickened by unspoken words hanging heavily between us, all too aware of what lay beneath surface interactions growing ever more complicated each passing day. Then there it was again, the photograph beckoning me back into its nostalgic embrace, a reminder not just of love but also of choices made long ago when life seemed simpler than now, tangled webs spun tighter around hearts yearning desperately for freedom yet shackled by expectations so deeply ingrained within society's fabric, woven intricately together over generations past. In an attempt to escape those thoughts spiraling deeper still into uncertainty, I grabbed my phone instead, hoping perhaps distraction might provide some clarity, even if temporary relief from this emotional tempest brewing within. But there were no messages waiting for me, nothing except memories flooding back uninvited, filling spaces once occupied by laughter now replaced by silence echoing louder than any clap of thunder outside. And then suddenly, a notification pinged, breaking through haze enveloping everything else around me. It was an anonymous message appearing on screen without warning, sending chills racing down spine. I know what happened. My heart dropped into an abyss filled with dread as realization dawned upon me. The secrets held tightly within these walls threatened exposure beyond imagination, leaving nothing but devastation in their wake should anyone discover truths hidden beneath layers carefully constructed over years spent maintaining appearances intact. Panic surged through veins coursing wildly, demanding answers yet providing none. Who could possibly know? How far did they reach beyond confines surrounding us here? As darkness enveloped once more, shadows danced eerily around corners, stirring fears long buried deep beneath surface, carefully cultivated throughout time spent navigating complexities life presented daily, facing myriad challenges never once prepared for. Consequences emerging unexpectedly, threatening stability cultivated painstakingly over years spent together. With trembling hands gripping phone tightly, I knew then this storm wouldn't just pass, it would leave destruction behind, reshaping everything familiar, transforming lives irrevocably, forever changed. The storm outside raged on, its ferocity echoing the turmoil within me. The wind howled against the windows, rattling the glass as if demanding entry into my private world of confusion and guilt. I sat on the edge of the couch, wrapped in a blanket, clutching a mug of lukewarm tea that had long lost its warmth. The flickering candlelight cast shadows that danced across the room, reminding me of the shadows lurking in my heart. Thoughts swirled like the storm outside. My son's visit had ignited feelings I had buried deep for years, feelings that now clawed at my conscience with relentless intensity. I glanced at the old love letter again, its words like ghosts whispering secrets from my past. The memories it conjured were bittersweet, a mixture of longing and regret. A familiar tune drifted softly from the radio, cutting through the tension in the air. The melody wrapped around me like a comforting embrace but also stirred something unsettling within. It was a song from my youth, a time when love felt uncomplicated and pure. As I listened, vivid memories flooded back, laughter shared under starlit skies, stolen glances that spoke volumes, and dreams woven with hope. I closed my eyes, allowing myself to be swept away by nostalgia. But with each note came a reminder of my reality, the weight of my choices pressing down on me like an anchor dragging me into murky waters. My husband was away on business. He had no idea what was happening in our home or within me. His absence left a void that only intensified my inner conflict. The storm outside continued to rage as I tried to find clarity among the chaos of emotions swirling inside me. Guilt gnawed at my insides. Every moment spent with my son felt tainted by an unspoken understanding that was both exhilarating and terrifying. How could I reconcile these feelings? The boundaries blurred with every shared laugh and lingering touch. A sudden crack of thunder shook me from my reverie, jolting me back to reality. I looked towards the window as rain pelted against the glass in a furious rhythm. It mirrored my racing heart, a tempest brewing within me just as fierce as nature's fury outside. I thought about how we kissed under candlelight just days ago, a moment suspended in time yet so fraught with consequences. It felt innocent then, a fleeting connection born out of vulnerability, but now it loomed over me like an ominous cloud threatening to burst. Then came another message on my phone, an anonymous text that sent chills down my spine. You should be careful. My breath caught in my throat as I stared at the screen in disbelief. Who could have sent this? Was someone watching us? The thought sent waves of panic crashing through me. I needed to talk to him, to understand what this meant for us going forward, but fear held me back. What if he didn't feel the same way? What if he wanted to distance himself from this burgeoning connection? The prospect filled me with dread. As if sensing my turmoil, he entered the room quietly, his presence grounding yet electrifying. He looked at me with those familiar eyes, eyes that held so much warmth and understanding but also something deeper that frightened me more than any storm outside ever could. Mom? His voice broke through the haze enveloping us both. Yeah? I managed to reply, attempting to sound casual despite the tempest brewing inside. Is everything okay? His concern was palpable. It wrapped around us like an invisible thread binding our fates together. I hesitated before answering. Honesty felt like a double-edged sword in this moment. Just thinking about things. He stepped closer, his expression shifting from concern to curiosity as he studied my face intently. What kind of things? The air thickened between us as silence stretched out uncomfortably, words hung unsaid like heavy raindrops waiting to fall. Then suddenly, without thinking further about consequences or boundaries, I reached out and took his hand in mine. His fingers intertwined with mine naturally, familiar yet electric, and for a heartbeat everything else faded away. The storm outside ceased its roar. Time stood still as we spent the night together, enveloped in an unspoken bond that felt both right and wrong all at once. But reality crashed back into focus when another flash of lightning illuminated his face, eyes wide with uncertainty mixed with something else entirely, desire perhaps? Or fear? What are we doing? He asked softly after what felt like an eternity passed between us, filled only by our racing hearts echoing loudly amidst silence surrounding us both. I don't know, I whispered back honestly, because how could I explain what was happening when even I struggled to comprehend it fully? The storm continued raging outside while our own tempest brewed silently beneath layers carefully constructed over years spent navigating family dynamics fraught with complexities no one dared speak about openly. Yet here we were standing on precipice, ready to leap into unknown depths below where consequences awaited eagerly just beyond reach. In that moment filled with uncertainty came another message notification breaking through once more: "You've gone too far." My heart sank further than ever before realizing whatever fragile balance we had managed could easily crumble under scrutiny born from secrets kept hidden too long, the stakes rising higher than ever before. I turned away quickly, unable to meet his gaze any longer, fearing what lay ahead, what choices remained now weighed heavily upon shoulders already burdened by guilt threatening to consume everything familiar, leaving nothing but chaos behind. The storm had settled into a steady drizzle by the time my husband returned. The air felt charged with unspoken words, the kind that hung heavy between us, almost tangible in its weight. I stood at the kitchen counter, hands busy slicing vegetables for a simple dinner, trying to focus on the task at hand. Yet, my mind drifted to the past few days, the unexpected moments shared with my son, and the feelings that had surged like a tempest within me. "Hey, honey," he greeted as he entered, shaking off raindrops from his coat. His voice was warm but carried an undertone of fatigue. I turned to face him, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask than genuine cheer. "How was your trip?" I asked, hoping to keep the conversation light. He placed his bag on the floor and moved closer, his presence filling the space around us. "It was fine," he replied, rubbing his temples as if trying to ease away stress. "But I missed being home." There was sincerity in his eyes that made me feel both guilty and relieved. "I missed you too," I said softly. The weight of my confession lingered in the air between us. He stepped closer again, and for a fleeting moment, I was reminded of our younger days, when his laughter echoed through these walls and our family felt whole. As we settled into dinner, I couldn't shake off the lingering thoughts of my son's visit during the storm. The way we shared stories under candlelight felt like a fragile thread woven into an intricate tapestry of emotions. My heart raced at the memory of how close we had come. It was both thrilling and terrifying. "Did you get any work done while I was away?" he asked between bites. "A bit," I replied, forcing myself to maintain focus on him rather than what lay beneath my skin, the guilt and desire that churned within me like storm clouds ready to burst. He nodded but seemed distant, as if he were grappling with something unsaid. "I've been thinking about us, about how we can spend more time together as a family." The mention of family struck a chord deep within me. What did it mean for us now? Wasn't it enough to share meals and casual conversations? Why did it feel like there were boundaries being tested? "I'd like that," I murmured, trying to sound enthusiastic while pushing down the tumultuous emotions swirling inside me. After dinner, we moved into the living room where rain pattered against the windows, a soothing rhythm amidst my inner chaos. He turned on the television but barely paid attention. Instead, he stared out at the darkened sky as if searching for answers among distant clouds. "What's on your mind?" I asked gently after several moments of silence. "It's just, work has been overwhelming lately." His voice trailed off as he glanced back at me with tired eyes that spoke volumes about his struggles that felt familiar yet distant from my own. "I understand," I said quietly. "It can be tough balancing everything." The truth hung heavy. While he fought external battles in his career, mine were internal and far more complicated. "Sometimes I wonder if we're doing enough for each other," he continued slowly. "I don't want us to drift apart." His words pierced through me like lightning striking a tree, sudden and electrifying. "Wouldn't it be easier if we could just acknowledge everything? If we could talk openly about our fears without pretense?" But how could I share what weighed so heavily on my heart when even acknowledging it felt like crossing an unspoken line? Maybe we need to plan something special, I suggested tentatively. A weekend getaway or something. He smiled faintly at this idea but didn't respond right away. Instead, he leaned back against the couch cushions with a sigh that spoke volumes about exhaustion, not just physical but emotional too. Just then, my phone buzzed from across the room, a sharp reminder of reality intruding upon our moment together. My heart raced again as anxiety crept in. Who could be messaging me now? My pulse quickened at the thought of an anonymous message surfacing unexpectedly amidst all this turmoil. I glanced over at him before reaching for my phone cautiously. A name flashed across the screen, someone from our past whose presence might stir up memories best left undisturbed. "Everything okay?" he asked without looking up from where he sat. "Just an old friend reaching out," I replied nonchalantly while my heart thudded loudly against my chest, a reminder of secrets held tight within me still waiting for release or resolution. As soon as I opened the message though, a simple invitation to a local festival happening this weekend, I felt another wave crash over me, excitement mixed with dread at what attending such an event might mean for us both given everything else swirling beneath our surface. "What is it?" His curiosity piqued now as he finally turned toward me fully. "It's nothing really," I said quickly before adding too much weight onto something seemingly harmless. An invitation meant simply for fun yet laden with implications given recent events between us all wrapped up in shadows cast by regretful choices made under stormy skies just days ago. His gaze lingered on mine longer than necessary, a silent question hanging there unspoken yet palpably present. Would this festival bring clarity or deeper confusion? As night deepened outside and rain continued its rhythmic dance against windowsill panes, I felt torn between two worlds, one where responsibilities lay heavy upon shoulders worn thin by years spent navigating life's complexities, another where desires flickered dangerously close yet remained tantalizingly out of reach. I took a breath in silence while feeling heavy uncertainty settle over us both, wondering how long these uncharted waters would hold sway over our lives before crashing down upon everything familiar. The festival buzzed with life, a kaleidoscope of colors and sounds that enveloped me as I stepped into the crowd. Laughter and music intertwined, creating a lively atmosphere that stood in stark contrast to the turmoil brewing within. I clutched my purse tightly, feeling its weight as if it could anchor me to reality amidst this vibrant chaos. Walking through the stalls, I tried to immerse myself in the art displayed around me, paintings bursting with vivid hues, sculptures twisting into unexpected forms. Each piece seemed to reflect a piece of my own inner conflict. An artist's rendering of a stormy sea caught my eye. The waves churned violently, mirroring the tempest of emotions roiling inside me. I paused, captivated by how the artist had captured chaos so beautifully. "Beautiful, isn't it?" A voice broke through my reverie. Turning slightly, I recognized an old friend from college days, Lila, her eyes sparkling with recognition. "It is," I replied, forcing a smile. "How have you been?" "Busy with work and life," she said lightly. "But enough about me. You look pensive." I shrugged, unsure how to articulate the complexities swirling within me. "Just navigating some things," I managed. "Life can get heavy," she said softly. "You know you can talk to me if you need to." Her sincerity hung in the air between us like an unspoken promise. I appreciated her offer but felt the weight of secrets pressing down on my chest. As we chatted about mundane topics, old friends and shared memories, I felt a flicker of nostalgia wash over me. Yet beneath it lay an undercurrent of guilt that threatened to pull me under again. The laughter around us became more distant as thoughts of my son crept back in. Suddenly, Layla's gaze shifted over my shoulder, her expression changing subtly. "Oh! Look who it is," she exclaimed. I turned to see a tall figure approaching, an unfamiliar man with striking features and an air of confidence that immediately drew attention. He moved through the crowd effortlessly, his presence commanding yet inviting. Do you know him? Layla asked curiously. No, I replied quickly, feeling an odd sense of vulnerability at his approach. He stopped near us, scanning the crowd before his gaze landed on mine. There was something unsettling about how he looked at me, a mix of intrigue and challenge that sent shivers down my spine. Enjoying the festival? He asked smoothly. Yes, I replied cautiously, trying to gauge his intentions. He smiled slightly as if amused by something unspoken between us. It's quite a spectacle tonight. Lila excused herself for a moment to grab something from a nearby stall, leaving us alone together amidst the thrumming energy of the festival. An awkward silence stretched between us until he finally spoke again. I couldn't help but notice your reaction to that painting. His tone was casual but probing. It's evocative, I responded carefully, unsure where this conversation was headed. Art reflects our inner struggles, he continued thoughtfully. What do you see when you look at it? I hesitated, suddenly aware of how exposed I felt under his scrutiny. Chaos, confusion, I admitted quietly. He nodded slowly as if weighing my words against some internal measure. We all have storms within us. His statement resonated deeply. It felt like he could see right through me, the hidden desires and fears that churned beneath my composed exterior. For a moment, time stood still as we locked eyes. There was a connection, a spark, that ignited something long buried within me. Just then, Lila returned with a small cup of hot cider in hand and broke our gaze abruptly. What are you two talking about? She asked innocently. Oh, just discussing art, I replied too quickly while trying to mask the tension that had built up in those fleeting moments with the stranger. Well, Lila said cheerfully, oblivious to what had just transpired between us, let's move toward the stage, they're about to start performing. As we walked together toward the makeshift stage area adorned with twinkling lights and colorful banners flapping gently in the breeze, I stole glances back at him occasionally. He stood watching us for a moment longer before blending back into the crowd like smoke dissipating into thin air. Settling onto benches near the stage felt surreal. Laughter surrounded us while deep down inside, a storm brewed anew. The performers took their places on stage, a band tuning their instruments amid rising excitement from onlookers eager for music that would soon fill our hearts and ears alike. The first notes floated through the air, melodic yet haunting, and suddenly everything shifted for me once more. Memories flooded back unbidden, laughter shared long ago during carefree days filled with innocence before life complicated everything beyond recognition. I closed my eyes briefly against this wave crashing over me, the echoes of joy mingling painfully with regret, and then opened them again as if hoping for clarity amidst confusion swirling relentlessly around my heart. But clarity remained elusive. Instead came another reminder. An anonymous message from earlier today had surfaced in my mind like an unwelcome specter haunting every thought since its arrival. Secrets don't stay buried forever. The words lingered ominously like thunder rumbling above before striking down upon everything familiar once again. The performance continued around me while anxiety seeped further into every crevice of thought. Would someone discover what lay hidden? Would they expose this fragile tapestry woven from love tinged with danger? As each note played on, the rhythm pulling everyone into its embrace, I felt increasingly trapped between two worlds, one vibrant and alive outside while another darkened by shadows loomed ever closer within. The performance continued to envelop me, a symphony of sound that resonated with the chaos in my mind. Each note seemed to echo the turmoil of my heart, reverberating through the crowded hall. I clutched my program tightly, as if it could anchor me amidst the rising tide of emotions. Around me, the audience was lost in the music, their faces illuminated by soft lights that cast fleeting shadows. I should have been swept away too, but instead, I felt like an outsider peering through a glass wall at a world where joy and freedom thrived. The art displayed on stage mirrored my internal conflict, a vibrant dance of colors and shapes that spoke of passion and longing. Yet, beneath the surface lay an unsettling truth that gnawed at me. As the performance reached its crescendo, memories of my son flooded my thoughts. His laughter echoed in my mind like a haunting melody, sweet yet tinged with sadness. I remembered our shared moments, those quiet afternoons spent painting together in our sun-drenched living room, and the way he would look at me with such trust and innocence. It was during those times that I felt most alive, most connected to him. But now, everything had shifted. The storm outside raged on, its fury matching the tempest within me. I could almost hear it howling through the cracks of this sanctuary, an urgent reminder of what lay beyond these walls, a life filled with unspoken desires and forbidden thoughts. A sudden silence enveloped the theater as the final notes faded into stillness. The audience erupted into applause, but I remained seated, lost in contemplation. The artist's brushstrokes lingered in my mind as if they had etched themselves onto my very soul. In that moment of stillness, clarity emerged from the fog. I was not just a mother or a wife, I was an individual grappling with conflicting identities. I slipped out of my seat and made my way to the exit, each step heavy with uncertainty. Outside, rain poured down relentlessly as if nature itself shared in my turmoil. The streets glistened under streetlights like scattered jewels while thunder rumbled ominously overhead. I sought refuge in a nearby cafe where warmth enveloped me like a comforting embrace. The aroma of coffee filled the air as patrons chatted animatedly about art and life, a stark contrast to my internal struggles. I chose a corner table where I could observe without being seen. My thoughts drifted back to that kiss, the one moment suspended in time when everything changed between us. It had been innocent yet charged with an energy that defied explanation. It had opened doors within me that I never knew existed. What did it mean? Was it merely a fleeting lapse or something more profound? The barista approached with my drink, her cheerful demeanor pulling me momentarily from my reverie. "You look deep in thought," she remarked lightly. "Just reflecting on life," I replied with a faint smile. "Art does that," she said before moving on to serve another customer. As I sipped my coffee, I noticed a couple at another table engaged in animated conversation about an upcoming exhibit at the art museum, the very place where I'd felt so alive just hours earlier. Their laughter rang out like music against the backdrop of raindrops tapping against the windowpane. I pulled out my phone absently and opened social media, an impulse driven by curiosity more than anything else. Scrolling through posts filled with images of friends enjoying their lives only deepened my sense of isolation until one notification caught my eye, an anonymous message from someone who seemed to know too much about me. "Secrets can't stay hidden forever," it read simply. My heart raced as panic gripped me. Who could this be? My mind raced through possibilities while dread pooled in my stomach like lead. Had someone witnessed our moment? Was there someone lurking in shadows waiting to expose what we shared? I quickly shut off my phone and placed it back on the table. No good could come from dwelling on this message now, not when uncertainty loomed over every decision ahead. In search of distraction, I turned back to watching life unfold around me, the couple still laughing, friends sharing stories over steaming mugs, artists sketching visions inspired by their surroundings, all while I remained trapped within myself. The rain began to lighten outside as twilight descended upon Asheville, a city bursting with creativity yet burdened by secrets like mine. With each passing minute spent observing others' connections and camaraderie, those bonds seemingly effortless compared to what weighed heavily on my heart, I felt increasingly restless. A need for clarity surged within me. Perhaps confronting those feelings head-on might offer some semblance of peace amid this chaos. I stood up abruptly, leaving money for my drink on the table before stepping back into the cool evening air, each drop from above cleansing yet heavy with meaning, as if nature itself urged me forward toward resolution instead of retreating into shadows once more. As I walked down familiar streets lined with galleries showcasing local artists' works, each piece telling stories both intimate and grand, I felt drawn toward one particular exhibit, Reflections. It called out to something deep within, a promise perhaps that understanding awaited beyond mere observation. Upon entering the gallery space filled with vibrant colors splashed across canvases depicting raw emotion intertwined seamlessly between love and loss, I was struck by how vividly these pieces mirrored not only what lay hidden inside but also everything brewing beneath, layers upon layers threatening to spill over at any moment. Each painting resonated deeply within. They spoke truths about longing, the kind that twists your heart into knots while simultaneously igniting flames you never meant to kindle again. Then came another realization. Confronting these feelings wouldn't just mean facing myself but also addressing what lay between us, my son's innocence juxtaposed against desires deemed taboo by society's standards. As echoes from earlier conversations replayed through memory's corridors, a voice broke through softly. We spent the night together. It hung there suspended between breaths, a truth spoken aloud now carrying weight far beyond mere words. A decision loomed ahead, confront him or retreat deeper into silence? Before clarity could fully settle around me or resolve take shape, my phone buzzed again, insistently demanding attention. The screen lit up, revealing another message. Meet me where we first kissed. A chill shot down spine as realization dawned. Choices made tonight would ripple far beyond this moment. The rain had finally subsided, leaving a thick silence in its wake. The air felt heavy, charged with unspoken words and unresolved emotions. I stood in the dim light of the living room, the shadows dancing on the walls as the last flickers of the storm faded into memory. My phone buzzed again, an intrusive reminder of the outside world that I had tried so hard to escape. Meet me where we first kissed. The message echoed in my mind, each word a pulse that quickened my heart. I glanced at the clock. Midnight was creeping closer, and with it came the weight of my choices. The thought of confronting my son about our tangled relationship loomed over me like a thundercloud ready to burst. I had spent years building walls around my heart, convincing myself that desire was a fleeting whisper, one best ignored. But tonight, those walls felt fragile. The storm had stripped away layers of decorum and restraint, leaving raw vulnerability exposed. As I paced the room, memories flooded back, our laughter echoing through the halls of our home, quiet moments shared over coffee on lazy Sunday mornings. Yet beneath those innocent recollections lay an undercurrent of longing that I could no longer deny. The phone buzzed again, slicing through my thoughts. My breath hitched as I picked it up and stared at the screen. A name I hadn't expected flashed before me, my husband's. He was supposed to be miles away on a business trip. Hey, he said when I answered, his voice tinged with fatigue yet warm like a familiar blanket. I just wanted to check in. Everything okay? I asked, trying to mask my unease. Just wrapping up here, he replied. I'll be home tomorrow evening. Tomorrow evening. The reality settled in, time was slipping through my fingers like sand as uncertainty loomed larger than ever. I miss you, he added softly. I swallowed hard against a swell of guilt that threatened to choke me. I miss you too. After hanging up, I leaned against the wall for support, feeling as if both worlds were closing in on me, the life I had built and the desires stirring within me like an awakening beast. A sudden determination surged through me. It was time to confront this head-on. My son's visit had ignited something profound within me, a connection that transcended mere familial love and ventured into uncharted territory. But how could I articulate this without shattering everything? The thought of meeting him sent waves of anxiety crashing over me again. What would he think? How could we ever go back to normal after this? Yet there was something undeniably magnetic about our bond now, a shared secret that pulsed between us with each glance and every breath taken in close proximity during those stormy hours together. As if drawn by an unseen force, I found myself reaching for my coat and slipping into shoes. An invisible thread tugged at me toward our old meeting place, the park where we first shared a kiss under the sprawling branches of an ancient oak tree. The streets glistened under streetlights as I stepped outside into the cool night air. Each step felt heavier than the last as anticipation and dread collided within me like thunder rumbling in the distance. Arriving at the park felt surreal. Moonlight filtered through leaves overhead while shadows whispered secrets around me. Memories flooded back, the warmth of his hand against mine that day when our lives intertwined just beyond childhood innocence. I stood beneath that oak tree now, heart pounding wildly in anticipation while uncertainty gnawed at my insides like ravenous wolves prowling just out of sight. Then came his voice, a soft call cutting through the stillness, "Mom?" The sound sent shivers down my spine as he stepped from behind a cluster of bushes, his expression unreadable yet filled with something deeper than mere curiosity, an understanding forged from unspoken words shared during those sacred moments together. "What are you doing here?" he asked cautiously but not unkindly. I needed to talk," I managed to say despite feeling every ounce of resolve slip away with each passing second. He nodded slowly but didn't approach. Instead he studied me closely as if searching for answers hidden behind layers built over years spent navigating family dynamics and expectations. "I've been thinking about everything," he admitted finally, his voice barely above a whisper yet heavy with meaning that hung between us like mist clinging stubbornly to morning grass after rain has fallen overnight. A silence enveloped us then, a charged moment where time seemed suspended between breaths caught somewhere between longing and fear until finally breaking free. "We need to talk about what happened." His words hung heavily in the air. They were both invitation and challenge wrapped together tightly like vines twisting around each other seeking sunlight amidst shadows cast by doubt lingering nearby, threatening to suffocate whatever fragile connection we'd formed amid chaos swirling around us during storms both literal and metaphorical alike. "Yes," I breathed out slowly as reality settled heavily upon us both. We were standing on a precipice neither one could ignore any longer. The weight pressing down upon us demanding acknowledgement even if it meant risking everything we held dear for something unknown yet undeniably real lurking just beneath surface tension barely contained within hearts beating wildly against fragile ribs encased tightly inside flesh woven together by memories shared across years spent loving fiercely despite challenges faced along paths chosen carefully throughout lives lived fully yet imperfectly nonetheless. And then came another vibration from my phone, a reminder from reality crashing back into focus once more, "Meet me where we first kissed." My heart raced anew at its implications while looking into his eyes searching desperately for clarity amidst confusion swirling all around us threatening to pull apart what little threads remained binding us tightly together even now when everything seemed lost forevermore. But before either one could speak again, the world shifted violently beneath feet planted firmly on ground once stable now trembling precariously underneath weight borne heavily by secrets kept too long hidden away safely locked inside hearts yearning desperately for release, but perhaps not quite ready yet either. And just like that, the universe tilted dangerously off balance as darkness enveloped everything surrounding us once more plunging deep into unknown depths filled only with uncertainty waiting patiently below.